Hey y'all, grown black folks talk on this very, how shall I say it, notably autumn day, where it is still warm because we just came out of the summer, but it being still warm and having just come out of the summer, the wind is letting you know, hey, we about to change up. Winter is en route, believe it or not. But it is another deliriously beautiful autumn day. And I wanted to give you something of an update and a piece of commentary. So y'all know I'm studying marketing and research for low content publishing and Boredom City. But having been through Boredom City, they give you a new pair of shoes when you leave there if you completed your courses. What I'm saying is we're now going into we passed through, okay, we were bored, then we took the time to understand it, then our mind began to assimilate the information, and now you get a pair of shoes to start walking. In other words, we're getting to that stage where we are beginning to apply the information. And they also give you a new pair of glasses. Because you come out of Boredom City when you really learn something about how big systems work, such as Amazon, and you're like, oh, this is why some people are making hundreds of sales a month and some people are making one. Oh, then the question becomes, can you apply it to your particular situation? So we're getting over into that aspect. The thought I have for you though is, and I'm realizing this the more I learn about multiple different things, the more I learn about multiple different things, the more I realize how utterly Henry David Thoreau was correct in 1840. Most people live lives of quiet desperation, except that now, 182 years later, we're not quiet. We have social media. But at the same time, not taking the time to understand how things work will leave you, no matter how gifted, no matter how talented you are, in despair. Because some things just do not work by virtue of you being gifted. If you stop and you think about it, an artist like me, who's multidisciplinary, written, music, and visual art, somebody who's multidisciplinary, most artists just take one of those things being fully developed, are hoping that they're going to do enough art and that someone is going to discover them. But when they are discovering them, what this artist is really saying, although it's not said explicitly, someone else, please put me into a system which generates me money, that will do the presentation, that will do the marketing, that will do the distribution, that will put me in front of the people I need to be in front of. Let me just be the gifted one, and someone else pick me up and do all the rest. Now, that has been a disaster, and because I am the author of a book called The Freedom Guide for Music Creators, I know what's been in those contracts for a long time since race music became a thing. You go in there gifted and people set it up so that, yeah, they'll get you the distribution and all the rest, but they'll basically put you back into sharecropping, which is you do all this labor and you are contractually locked out of benefiting from it. In the work world, they have something else. The initials are TRAP, and I'm going to get it wrong because I just saw it yesterday and I don't have it in front of me. Training Repayment Action Plan. And it's part of some employer agreements where you have to now pay people to leave. Because what happens is your company wants you, I know the initials are TRAP, the company wants you to pay them should you take the training they gave you somewhere else. So when you go in and you don't know anything about how to do what it is that you do best and how to do what you enjoy, that's the situation you find yourself in. Contracts have been like this ever since Southern planters couldn't have slaves but set up systems to do sharecropping, which did essentially the same thing. This is grown black folks talk on the climb. Understand that this is the situation. When you don't bother to learn systems, people look at you as desperate, and increasingly, because knowledge on everything is available at a touch of a button, desperate, reckless, desperate, ignorant, and increasingly reckless. I just had a situation not too long ago, and I'm going to suppress all the details of the people involved, just out of respect. But it's just like, a black man rolled up on me, hasn't gotten smack done on Project X for 10 years, and just thought because I actually have a book out, or 2 or 3 or 4, that I would be the person to birth his 10-year odyssey. We're not going to even deal with the amount of stank entitlement that would take. We're going to deal with the systematic side of it. If a person hasn't been able to write something in 10, 15 years, they need a developmental editor or a ghostwriter. And then after that, if they choose to go the developmental and editor route or the ghostwriter element, whichever one they prefer, then they're going to have to get copy edited. So we're sitting up here like, when you suggest that to somebody that knows, that person knows automatically you're ignorant. You're ignorant. Also knows work ethic isn't where it needs to be, because if you had something for 10 years and you haven't figured out how to get it done, there's no guarantee that you're going to be taking this year for real unless this person can sit there and handhold you and pull it out of you. Because clearly after 10 years, 15 years, you can't pull it out of yourself. So you come off as ignorant, desperate, and also reckless, because you don't know if the person that you're working with actually has the qualifications. See, even the wind started ominously blowing when I said that. You don't even know if the person that you're talking with, this was an associate, a mutual associate to a mutual associate. None of us have known each other more than a month. And I'm sitting there listening to this, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to deal with your stank entitlement. The answer is absolutely no. But the fact that you even suggested it means that I take you off. There's never going to be a yes. Ever. Because the more you know, the more you realize. But see, I will give consideration to the fact that people have to live their lives. And lives for black people are more difficult than they are for other sets of people. So you could have that thing caught up 10 to 20 years. I've actually worked with people like that. You could have it caught up because you had to do the things that your family needed. If you're a good, quote, good black man, family man, you might have not been able to concentrate because you were trying to keep your family fed. So I'm going to look at, okay, I'm not going to work with you, but I understand where you got what you've gotten. But my understanding it does not mean that I have to expose myself to the risk of dealing with all that either. See, the thing about being single, and the thing about knowing what my calling actually is, we're going to step into the full sunlight out of the oak tree to say, the fact that I have that kind of clarity means I already have a good understanding of what I do and what I do not need to be bothered with. Men who are out there just having sex with random people, desperate, reckless, and ignorant, means you haven't studied anything about what's going on in the world since AIDS became a thing 42 years ago, 43 years ago, 45 years ago. Means you haven't kept up with anything. And you women who were involved in letting that happen, same thing. Because at this point, because information is available at a touch of a button. And I'm not talking about things we do in our youth because we honestly don't know. Ignorant can be innocent. But at this point, oh no. You have to get off that train. There's other variations of this. People can ask the most amazing things. I talked to someone whose relatives do not understand that maybe if someone has a serious illness like pneumonia, maybe putting them around a whole bunch of other people is probably not going to be the business. But people do not even realize what they are asking because they are so desperate, reckless, and ignorant. Let me also say this. The way that people get like this is not because they're inherently stupid. I see this conversation all the time about, are black men genetically deficient? No. deeper than Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we have to talk about what happened and also happened in the last 45 years. If your community was overrun by guns it did not make and drugs it did not manufacture, and your government decided to let this happen, the children that grow up there are going to be deprived of stability and love. And if a child is deprived of those things and cannot get them, that need to have that foundation is still there. So people become desperate or ignorant, desperate, and reckless because that foundation was never put on. They're ignorant because no one ever showed them. They're desperate because they're doing without what human beings need. They're reckless because all they have is audacity. We did a whole video about that. When all you have is audacity, but that's it. This is why you see situations where black men will marry a woman who stayed around there 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 years. Because she actually filled that space for them. Stability. And if you hung around, maybe love. But of course, that puts a man on a level of, let's say, Adolf Hitler, who finally married Eva Braun, who showed her devotion to him at the very end by flying in to be with him at the bunker. And at that point, that wicked man said, well, I'm going to have to make an honest woman out of you because you have proved your lifetime devotion. So you just come on, we get married, we commit suicide together. That's that level of thinking, but it comes from a lifetime of deprivation. If you were to read the story of Hitler, you would also see you would see a father who was not in the picture as much as he could have been. And that set up a lot of those situations. And his mother could not overcome that, plus passed away while Hitler was still relatively young, not quite a grown man yet. Pile on PTSD. This does not excuse Hitler of anything, and nor is any man excused today for his wickedness. But it's just like you see that if a community is put into a situation where the children are deprived of the knowledge that they need, the love they need, and the stability that they need, you will have a community full of people who are ignorant, desperate, and reckless. I am not without empathy. I would have been one of those children if my father had not stayed in the picture. My dad stayed in the picture. And that is the difference between me and many others. And I recognize that's not something I chose. I give glory to God for that. It's not something I chose. But I grew up in a crack-bound neighborhood too. And gentrification solves one problem but not the other. Because survivor's guilt is a thing. One of the reasons that I do the ministry that I do from the positions that I can do it is because I still, first of all, I'm a minister by inclination. Sunday school teachers going back 3 generations. But also because I was not allowed to survive in order to just feel like I'm somebody because I was allowed to survive. I did not set any of the things that have to do with my survival. God set those up for me, long time ago. I would say before the world began, but he didn't set those things up with my great-grandfather, my grandfathers, and my dad, and my mom, and grandmothers, and great-grandmothers, who all stayed in there and made it work, and lived to see the rewards of having done that. None of that was set up by me. It was not set up by God for me to be indifferent to those who just didn't have it. Black people had a very hard time. But just understand, the more people learn about how to do things in the world, the less patience people are going to have. Because immediately, when you show up with nothing but audacity, when you show up with stank entitlement, even if we understand it's based on, I need someone to do this for me, I've needed it all my life, I get it. It behooves you, good old King James system word, it is necessary for you to come out here and learn what you need to learn and get it. Learn the systems that are available. I'm going to mention Journey with the Hintons for those of you that only want to listen to black women, and JT's Automations for those of you that would rather listen to black men. Actually, JT, no S. JT Automations and Journey with the Hintons, Haitons. I will put the links in the description of this video. For those of you who are ready for a more advanced presentation, I want y'all to start listening to Black Women Making Money. And if you're a black man, hey, JT Automations will set you up with $300 a day or $3,000 a day if that's what you want. These are all people who will give you access to learning systems that will get you where you need to go. Kevin Samuels had a list there for high value, but he didn't leave any resources to help you get there. I'm going to open the door for you. And yeah, you're going to have to go through Boredom City. But after you get through Boredom City, they're going to hand you a new pair of shoes, they're going to hand you a new pair of glasses, and you would have been bored, but you got the map. For real. Get set up. Get set up. You do not need to be out here in 2023 impressing people, no matter how gifted you are, with being ignorant, desperate, and reckless with what you've been given. Learn while you have the opportunity. It may not last forever. Learn while you have the opportunity to get involved with systems. And of course, the other thing about this is really worth a separate video. The first thing you encounter may not be for you. Don't give up. Keep looking. The world is full of opportunities, just like the first person that you meet may not be the one in a world of almost 8 billion people. You have to keep looking. Now, that's a separate video, which I may do later. There's a lot of little kids out here touring in the park today, and I'm trying to give them their, time and space. Some of the places I would normally sit. But I'm out here by the oak tree, and it's cool. Anyway, I got to get back, finish my walk, get back to where I would normally sit, and I may do another video, and I may not. Yesterday, I just came out here on a beautiful day and just vibed. Just enjoy the sunshine, listen to a mini documentary about Ernest Hemingway and how his tragedy ended up. And that really opened my mind to some of what I've said today. But anyway, after that, I gotta go back to Boredom City. But now I'm setting things in order. I got the map and I'm heading out. So more updates as they become available. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.